Good morning. With the new schedule, the rooster didn't sing, and I got up late. But here we are. We are starting the week. We're making progress. That's what I can tell you guys. The government is working. The economy is fine. We're maintaining macroeconomic equilibrium. We're already adjusting the mechanism so that there is no increase in real terms the price of gasolines, diesel and the power. As well, there's good news regarding the appreciation of the peso, or there's no depreciation of our currency. The inflation is down. There's confidence in the consumer. As I mentioned it today, and they will give information about this topic. The collection is fine. The taxpayers, they're paying their money with properly. They're not seeing that they're not taxes but contributions, and they do know that now whatever they're paying, whatever they pay to the government, we use it very well, and the money is not going to to the corruption hands, because there's no corruption in the government. And I think this is a good environment in general. So everything is going fine. All the programs are going very well. We're making progress. Every time there's more money for the people. So that way the money goes directly to the people in their hands. That's what I can tell you. Yesterday we were at the tourism flea market in Acapulco. Too many people. It was participating. It's an economic activity, and that is growing. The tourism. There is data. There are coming more money from tourism than in previous months, or or at the same time. And if we just compare January, yesterday there were an increase of 5% in money that is coming from from tourism. We're doing well. Today I'm gonna send the name of the councilors from Pemex that will fill jobs. We're gonna propose to the Senate to Sanchez Aguilar, Juan José Paullada, and José Eduardo Beltrán Hernández. These are the three proposals for the job as a councilors in Pemex. And the CRE we already attended, and they are already in functions. They already got the jobs. They're working. That means there's a majority in that institution, in that council, and the same In the case of Pemex, we're going to present today these proposals to the Senate of the Republic. That is in general, and I'm at your service, guys.
Buenos días, señor presidente. Bueno, Barrera del diario Naciones. Quiero preguntarle, el fin de semana se despertó un tema muy polémico, el de las escoltas.
He's asking about the bodyguards to the ex-presidents, Vicente Fox and Calderón, and why he's deciding to wait 2 months that Calderón needs, bodyguards for their protection. Because he's afraid, because he's afraid of people. Okay. We have to work with transparency. I have said that that's the rule of the good democracy. And we also have to take care not to affect the dignity of people. And from anyone. Not to offend. And to pass the linear, the border, on what we already has to do with dignity. So when there's cases are presented, it is about taste to make it known, because it's offensive, because it is a situation, it's a delicate situation, intimate, personal, to say I have a concern, I worry about my well-being, because it happens that when I was a president, I performed the role to face the organized crime. I fight them, and I feel unprotected. So then, for me to go out there and say that he's requesting protection because of that, at that time, and that we're gonna be protection as I order to be protected. So that it is a bad taste for, you my guys don't like it. It's something not, adequate at that time when he requested. Time passes, as a similar situation like right now with ex-President Fox, then he gives me the opportunity to say there is also this other situation with ex-President Calderon. Politic is matter of time. It's not the same to say something today or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. It's a different connotation. So that's why I didn't tell you guys about it, and I protect them. And now the same with ex-president Vicente Fox. But now I want to tell you guys, with all respect, or quite carefully, it's not going to be the same as before, because there is difference, like not too many protection, like not too many guys, because previously it was included in the budget, the match for the ex-president, and that does not exist in the budget. It's different. The ex-presidents, by a decree, they were receiving, payment, almost at the same as Secretary of State, and they were having having assigned personnel,
administradores,
military people, administrators,
personal de la administración pública,
and also public administration people from the
llegar
government.
a tener hasta
They even
80 elementos.
they even have to have, and they even have like 80 people in total.
Era un presupuesto
It was a
de
budget
alrededor de 50
of
millones de
of
pesos
around 50 million pesos
para cada
for
expresidente
each ex-president, for each former president,
promedio.
average.
Entonces,
So
ahora
now,
pues ya no hay la pensión,
then there is no pension.
ya no hay todo ese personal
They don't
administrativo.
have all the administrative
Estamos
staff.
hablando
We're
de
talking about
un grupo de una guardia
a small group
para protegerlos.
to protect them.
Yo desearía que se
I
protegiera
wish
así a todo el pueblo. Es más,
I can protect everybody like that. That's why it's the National Guard, to protect all the people,
que es
because
mi responsabilidad
it's my
que no
responsibility
le pase nada,
that nothing happens to the Mexicans,
que cuidemos
that we take care our life,
cuidemos
that we take care our properties from all the Mexicans. That's the responsibility of the president, the responsibility of the representative of the state, and that's why every day we're guaranteeing that there are no robberies, there are no kidnappings, there are not homicides. That is my job, and I'm responsible. In this case, it is something special for them. I believe people understands. Generates controversy. Of course, everybody's going to be talking about it because I have to make decisions. Also, the politic is to choose between inconvenience, between wrongdoing and good doing. I mean, there are only 8 guys from the army. 8 people from the army. I don't have exactly the data. Yeah, in average, 8 military guys. It's gonna cost less than 10% of what it was costing before. Yes, a lot less. A lot less. It's gonna cost a lot less than before. I inform you guys. I'm gonna tell you exactly what is gonna be all about this military protection. We don't hide anything. This is a matter that goes directly to the Secretary of Defense. There's a second question. We understand this is a temporary, happening.
Otras personas que también se vieron inmersas en el combate a la delincuencia o en trabajos difíciles empiece a solicitarle.
We believe that maybe some other people they're gonna be requesting escorts. If they require, we might do it, but we don't guarantee it. When life is at risk, when it's at risk, the family of a public servant or former public servant or any citizen, here we have protection that is given to journalism, who is, they're being treated with that, and it's our responsibility, of course. We must see in what kind of circumstances in each case. It just cannot be general, because we would not have so many people to take care of this. If we're doing the guardian, because we don't have enough people to guarantee public safety, and we're going to request more people, there's going to be more job offers. and to contract them
alrededor de 50,000
around
nuevos
50,000
elementos para la Guardia
new
Nacional,
guys for the National Guard,
precisamente para tener
precisely
más
to
protección.
have more protection.
Entonces,
So then,
el tiempo que sea
the
necesario,
time that it is
la
necessary,
respuesta,
that is going to be my
se
answer,
va a tener esta
and
protección
they're going to have this protection
mientras se requiera.
while it is
Y
required.
ahora, pues
And
es también a conciencia de cada
and
quien
it's also, you
que
know,
vean
the consciousness of each
si no es una situación
is
muy
individual.
riesgosa
If it's not a
o
risky situation,
ignorando el riesgo,
if the
que
risky is reducing,
se pueda autofinanciar.
if they can, you know, pay their own security,
Pero eso es
but
un asunto de
that
voluntades.
that is a matter of willness. Each one of them, they have to decide how they're going to take care of their protection. I cannot limit,
La
cannot
ayuda
limit the help
americana
or get
a
involved
este tipo de cosas.
to this
Ojalá
kind of things.
que todos
Hopefully,
hagamos conciencia
and we all become
de
aware of
que tenemos
what we have
que atender
to do,
lo prioritario,
the
no lo
priority,
superfluo.
not the superficial.
Hay veces
There are times
que las guardias, o así era antes,
that the guards or the
el
bodyguards, it was
político
before the
para
politician,
sentirse
to so
importante
he can feel important,
se rodeaba de
he was surrounded
guardaespaldas,
himself with bodyguards.
le encantaba la
He
fantochería,
loved the the fantocheria, to go the extremes,
rodeado de
to be surrounded
ayudantes
by helpers, by
para
these
todo. O
helpers
sea,
for
era hasta
everything.
vergonzoso,
It was
inmundo,
already a shameful,
de que
wordless that
un servidor
a
público
public servant,
se iba a subir a un carro
he was going to jump on a car
y llegaba alguien rápido a
and
abrirle la puerta
someone
como si no
comes quick to
pudiese
open the
abrir
door,
nada.
like if he couldn't
Y
open it,
todavía asuntos
and
más indignos
and some other
de que
unworthy matters
el trabajador,
that the
el
worker,
compañero chofer,
the partner of the
adelante
driver,
y él sentado atrás,
and he's sitting in the back,
cosas ofensivas.
offensive things.
Eso no tiene nada que ver
That has
con un
nothing to
estilo
do
de vida
with
republicano.
the style
Eso
life,
tiene más que ver,
Republican style life,
con todo respeto,
and that has more
con
to
las
do with
monarquías.
all respect with the
México es una
monarchies,
república.
and Mexico
Entonces
is a
eso tiene que irse
republic.
quitando.
Then we have to leave and be
Y no
removing
es fácil.
all this,
A
but it's not
veces
easy.
da
Sometimes
hasta pena
even
porque
I feel
existe
bad
la mala
because
costumbre
there's a bad habit.
y da pena decir,
It is a shame to say, wait,
sí, debo abrir la puerta
I'm gonna open the door,
porque
because
se ofende también.
they get offended.
Son costumbres.
It's something they got used to it.
Entonces tiene que ir cambiando
So
todo
we
eso.
have to change all that.
No hay
There's
riesgos
no risk
para ciertos funcionarios.
for some officials, but
El hecho de que tengan
the fact
guardaespaldas,
that they have bodyguards,
achichincles,
achichincles,
lambiscones, etcétera, etcétera.
lambiscones, etc., people, they
Todo
just,
eso
surround them.
tiene que desaparecer.
All that has to
Está
disappear.
acusado de que se enriquecieron, que tienen dinero suficiente. ¿No sería mejor que ellos la pagaran?
Pues
He
eso,
says
sería cosa de verlo, pero
that will be something that we have to see, but I'm not gonna get into that matter. He was asking if they can pay for it.
Puntos suspensivos. Este sábado el presidente Maduro pidió la mediación de varios presidentes, incluido usted.
President Maduro in Venezuela, he requests mediator, including Mexico.
El mecanismo de Montevideo para calmar esta situación. ¿Usted está dispuesto a dialogar?
Are you gonna help
en este diálogo que pide el presidente Maduro?
in this matter that the Venezuela president is asking?
hemos propuesto que las partes
I have proposed
se sienten a
the
dialogar,
parties to sit down and talk.
que eso es lo mejor.
That is the best. to look a way out in peaceful in the conflict of Venezuela. It's in the foreign politic criteria of our country, the peaceful solution of the controversies, of the problems, and we're willing to help so they can talk. Mexico has the doors open for that, to look for a peaceful life in the solutions on the problems of Venezuela, like always Mexico has done. It's part of their tradition in foreign politics. Only that we need the agreement. We need the agreement of the parties in this case. So Venezuela and U.S. There must be acceptance. The opposition group, the two parties have to request and ask, and for that, and we can help if they request it. We have talked about what is that Mexico has a very good diplomatic. We'll even talk of the intermediation of diplomatic, like Bernardo Sepúlveda and some other people. And it will be very convenient that to think that there is a possibility of opening dialogue in Mexico, to talk in Mexico, to find a way out, a peaceful conflict in Venezuela, or a peaceful problem. I remember that here in our country, we signed the peace of agreement of the El Salvador, and here has been meetings to look for negotiated up politics, peaceful, not violence, in problems or in conflicts. In that we participate. And something else is to follow our principles and our constitutional rights and of non-intervention and self-determination of the people, but yes, to help in the possibility to solve and fix this problem for the Pacific way. Thank you, President. And thank you, Mr. President José Hernández.
Para preguntarle qué información tiene sobre el problema que hay en Matamoros.
About a problem in Matamoros.
Hay una pérdida de $300 millones.
There's a loss of $300 million and 6,500 jobs that we already missed. Because there's a lawyer, Susana Prieto, and she proposed this project 2032, and she's closing companies illegally to get this bonus. So there's people, that they're complaining about it, and violence. There's some lashing. The people have asked me to ask you to approach the state of Matamoros and fix all these problems. Thank you. Okay, the information that I got is that last week everything was fine. Basically, everything came back to normal. It was a problem that it was already taking time, at least 3 months on an average. Some companies have stopped from working. We were dealing with them and negotiating, and problems that were getting fixed. The problems that company was giving
con la Coca-Cola
link to Coca-Cola,
y al parecer se llegó
and
a un acuerdo
it looks
la
like
semana
we reached an
pasada.
agreement last week.
Ese es el informe que yo tengo.
That's the report that I
Que
have.
ya
That
en Matamoros
that in Matamoros
se está normalizando
everything is
la
coming back
situación
to normal,
laboral.
the work
Cosa que
situation.
celebro.
Something that I celebrate.
Sucede
This happens because
porque se crearon,
there were new conditions. There were created new conditions. Salary increase
salario en el país
in the country,
como nunca,
like
el
never
salario mínimo
increased the salary
en
before
16%,
at 16%.
en la frontera
At the border,
el salario mínimo aumentó
the
al
minimum
doble
wage increased to the double.
y pues
Well,
alentó el solicitar
this
incrementos
it was in a
salariales
slow situation,
a las empresas.
requesting salary increases to the companies.
Nosotros
We consider
consideramos
fair,
que es justo, necesario el aumento al salario.
necessary to increase the salary because
Era insoportable ya la situación.
it
En cuanto
was not tolerable.
a lo
The
raquítico,
situation
lo limitado,
about
lo
the
insuficiente
limited,
del
the
salario,
insufficient money that the workers that were
del
getting
salario
paid,
mínimo,
in particular of the minimum
durante todo
wage,
el periodo neoliberal,
throughout the neoliberal period.
el salario
The salary has lost around 70% of his power of purchase.
siempre recurro al mismo ejemplo.
Always I come to
Muy
the same
ilustrativo.
example because it was very
Hace 30 años,
illustrative.
el salario
Illustrative.
mínimo alcanzaba para
30 years
comprar
ago, minimum wage reached to buy
50 kilos de
50
tortilla.
kilos of tortilla.
Y ahora,
And
a
nowadays,
pesar del aumento del 16%,
even with the increase,
alcanza para comprar 6 kilos.
you can only buy 6 kilos of tortilla.
Esto demuestra
That show us
cómo
how
el salario
how
perdió
is
poder
this
de
how the
compra.
salary lost purchasing power.
Así fue la política
That's how
neoliberal.
neoliberal politics it was.
Tamaño de esa dimensión
Of that size, of that dimension, was the
de la gente.
impoverishment of the
Con el
people.
cambio,
So
se logra
with the change is
que
achieved
aumente el salario mínimo
that increase
como no
the minimum
había
wage as
sucedido
no
en
had
36
happened in
años
36 years
de el periodo neoliberal
the of neoliberal period. In fact,
histórico. Por eso
a
hablo de
fact
cambio de
historic.
régimen.
That's why I talk about change of regimen, not a change of
Por eso
government.
hablo de la etapa
That's why I talk about the
post-neoliberal.
post-stage neoliberal.
Y esto
And this,
desalentó, repito, a que
when it
muchos
comes out, I
sindicatos,
repeat that many unions and
plantearan
leaders would rise increases
salariales
and
las
salaries
negociaciones
in the
de
negotiations
los contratos.
of the contracts with companies.
El llamado que hice
The call that I make,
y sigo haciendo
and I keep doing it,
es de que
is that
no se puede
we cannot recover what it was lost
de la noche a la mañana. Es un
overnight.
proceso
It's a process,
ascendente,
that goes ahead, but
tiene que ser poco a poco.
it has to be little by little
Tenemos que cuidar a las
because we
empresas.
have to take care of companies.
No se puede
I just cannot
exigir
demand more
de la capacidad
of the
económica de las
economic
empresas.
capacity of the
Y aquí es
companies.
donde
And this is where
viene
it comes
la conciliación,
the conciliation,
que hay acuerdos,
that there's an agreement because
se necesitan los empleos,
we need the jobs,
se necesita que haya trabajo
and we need work,
y no se puede
and we just cannot
apostar
to bet
a afectar a las
to
empresas
affect companies
y afectar a la economía
and
del país.
to affect the economy of our
Están
country.
entendiendo muy bien los trabajadores.
The workers there understand it very well,
Y han habido, como el caso de Matamoros,
and there's been problems like Matamoros that
estas inconformidades.
this
Afortunadamente,
problems,
saliendo
but
bien,
unfortunately we're doing well.
es parte de los ajustes
It's
de
part
los
of the
salarios
adjustments of
que
the
se están dando por
of the changes that has been given, the changes that has been carrying out in the country, then I urge
los trabajadores,
to the
sus
workers, to the
representantes,
representatives,
que
that
se exijan mejores salarios,
to to demand better wages, but at the same time
de que es
also
importante
to value,
mantener
to
a las
it
empresas.
is very important to
Y
keep
vamos
the
bastante
companies,
bien.
and we're doing very well,
No hay
and
conflictos, no hay
there is no
inestabilidad.
problems, there's
En
no
lo laboral,
instability in
solo esto de
in
Matamoros que ya
only this in
se está
Matamoros that
arreglando,
is
va
already getting
hacia
fixed,
la normalidad
and is getting fixed, and
y
is going back to
se
normal,
está haciendo sin el uso
and
de
it's
la
being done
fuerza,
without the use of force,
más
even
convenciendo,
even
persuadiendo
more
que
convincing
utilizando la fuerza.
talking than
Por
using the
último, me
force.
gustaría
On the other
preguntarle, la
hand,
semana pasada
I would
Isabela
like to
Miranda
ask you
Vallones
about last
envió una
week.
carta solicitándole usted
Isabela
algunas cosas. ¿Podría
Miranda,
ampliarnos qué es lo que solicita?
somebody
Si
she
presupuesto
give you a
para
letter,
su
and can you tell
fundación,
us about
reabrir el caso
the
de
budget of
Zócalo,
her
o
foundation?
en este caso seguridad, como lo están haciendo los expresidentes. Gracias.
Sí, envié una carta
Yeah, I opened a letter.
más que nada dirigida
More than
a
anything,
lo que se hizo, lo que se manifestó aquí,
more than
en
anything,
una
it was
conferencia,
for what I
y
talk of
se
here
le
in
va a
a
atender
conference,
a la
and,
señora.
and yes, we're gonna make it happen to her.
Le voy a pedir a la secretaria,
I'm gonna ask to the Secretary of Government to talk to her,
porque
because
como hay polarización,
there's people talk about polarization,
que
people
no
that
vayan los que tienen una postura distinta,
whoever thinks
pues,
different,
a pedir lo mismo, pero lo
then
tendría
to
yo
ask the
que
same,
hacer, tendría yo también
then
que
I have to make it happen also.
recibirlo.
If people
Entonces,
keep making the kinds of
la
requests,
donde ya
so
nos regañan,
so we have to ask to the
yo les
government
dije
where there's no already problems,
que no iban a gobernación,
that like Don Fidel
porque
Velázquez,
ahí regañaban.
he didn't go to the government,
Y era para
that he wasn't going because it was a problem that was before. It was a matter of
yo iba a
getting
gobernación como opositor,
tight. I went to the government
y ahí
as an
sí
oppositor,
que
and I
apretaban.
know they squeeze
Antes,
before,
ya no,
and not any longer.
ahora
They were giving problems, not any longer.
es
Nowadays
para garantizar
is to
derechos
guarantee
humanos.
human rights.
Ya cambió
We have changed.
esa secretaría,
The secretary, everybody was afraid.
de esa secretaría salieron cosas
From that secretary, a lot
cuestionables,
of things
feas.
happens, a lot of ugly
Así era
things. That's how it was before.
Ya no es así.
It's not like that anymore.
Buenos días, presidente. Andrea Cruz, de Político.
Good morning, President Andrea Cruz.
Que tuvo el expresidente Vicente Fox, ¿tuvo contacto directo con él? Que hubo
But the problem with Ex-President Vicente Fox, did he talk to you directly?
¿Qué le dijo en la misiva que le envió?
And also what
Bueno, mire,
Mr. Calderon said to you
en
in the
caso
letter.
del
Okay, very well. In the case of
presidente Calderón,
President
una carta,
Calderon, it was a letter.
y después de que
After
la leí,
I read it,
le di instrucciones
I gave instructions
al secretario de la Defensa
to the Secretary of
que
Defense
estuviera de acuerdo con el expresidente,
to be in touch with the former President Calderon, and he did it
que
like
se
that.
había llegado
And he informed me
a un acuerdo.
that they have an agreement
Lo del presidente Fox,
about the
lo mismo,
Presidente Fox. It was the same,
pero ahí no me envió
but
ninguna
he
carta,
didn't send me any letter.
un,
He
mensaje
it was a message
en
by Twitter,
redes sociales.
in a social media, Twitter.
Entonces, que leí
So then I read it,
donde
where
hablaba de que
he was talking about
habían intentado
that
ingresar a su
some people tried to enter into his ranch, and
corrían riesgo
and his life was at risk, and whatever happens to him or to him or to his family, whatever happens to them, it was his responsibility. Almost immediately, I talked to him, to the people of the Secretary of Defense, and I told them to do the same. To do the same as we did with the Presidente Calderon, with President Calderon. And now you know the attention in my Twitter as well. Oh, you know what I did on Twitter. Yes, but I'm not going to argue about that. I'm going to tell you guys and already say it, I'm not responsible of the security of all Mexicans. But Vicente Fox, he make false statements. Yeah, but I'm not going to get into that. It's not that issue. Here is about to attend a demand that makes me feel like yesterday a young man is coming, and actually I'm gonna meet him, and so if that problem actually exists, because sometimes it helps a lot, the matter of that things go clearly, that everybody knows what happens. Yesterday a young man tells me, my mom is kidnapped for about 3 months for a group, and they're asking me in exchange to give them a land so they can release my mom. He tells me that crying. He knows who they are, and there's nothing that can be done so far. So I don't know if it is a kidnapping or they have their mother to held back by a conflict that occurs sometimes in the villages. But today I'm going to talk this matter to the Secretary of Marine, because they already have these antecedents like they have in the Guerrero state. Every time that I can attend an issue that it means that the people is in danger, that there is a risk, then I'll do it in a direct matter, directly. I will not going to find out if it's true or not, or in what kind of conditions. I'm going to. We're gonna try not to affect anyone, that nobody suffers, that nobody loses their lives. That's the main thing, after all. And then after all, we see what happened. What else happens? Also, everyone should be responsible for their own acts, and we have to think about conscience. If you don't have a clean conscience, you cannot be happy. Just being a good person, we can be happy. To lie is a reactionary and from the devil. The truth is revolutionary and it's Christian. It doesn't help on anything. It does not take away the sins to go to church on Sundays and forget the commandments, the 10 Commandments. But
que cada quien
That's, for everyone
lo resuelva.
to, fix it in their own way.
La verdad que no hay peor
The
cosa
truth, there is
que la
nothing worse
hipocresía.
than hypocrisy.
Ya que andamos en esto,
Since
los
we
sepulcros,
talking
lo
about
peor,
this,
eso es lo peor.
that's the works. He was talking about some kind of murders. That's the worst.
Pero el cambio es
But the change
que todos nos
is that
portemos
we
bien,
all
poner
become a
por
good
delante
citizens,
la
to put
honestidad,
honesty
no solo como
ahead,
forma de gobierno,
not only as a
sino
form of
como
government,
forma de vida.
but as a way of life.
Ese es el cambio,
That is the change.
esa es la 4T.
That is the 4T, which means transformation.
Una
President,
pregunta, por favor.
a second question.
¿Qué nos puede decir sobre las declaraciones que hizo el Baster Gordillo sobre la reforma educativa?
About El Bester Gordillo, she's talking
sobre que es una reformita y que no es
that it was,
maestros.
she was talking something bad about the educational reform. She's she's on her right to manifest.
Dejar de manifiesto
I want to make clear
que se va
that
a cancelar
that we're gonna cancel
educativo.
the grown educational reform.
Y no quiero,
It's not going to be approved.
así lo digo con toda claridad,
I'm saying it loud and clear
utilicen de excusa
that they use as an excuse
algunos dirigentes
some leaders
el que
that
se queden pendientes
things are pending, to remain pending,
para
yeah,
sacar
to remove
provecho,
advantage or to take advantage. Yes, to take advantage,
porque ahí andan
because here they are, just seeing and watching if we fail
frotando las
or
manos
not. They're just rubbing their hands,
para que puedan decir
so they can
"Son
say
iguales, es lo mismo",
they're all the same, like before, or
para que
so
tengan
they have
motivos
grounds,
y puedan
and they can say
seguir en sus
to so they can follow their activities,
que dicho sea de paso son legítimas,
because they're
que sean
legit,
dirigentes,
that they're
todo el
all
mundo
that they're all leaders all over the world is entitled to that. All the leaders all over the world. Yeah. But
aquí vamos a aclarar
but
todo.
here we're gonna clarify everything. The instruction that the Secretary has of Education
No quede nada
is that we're not gonna
de
have nothing left.
la
That
llamada
so-called bad educational reform.
Primero por justicia,
First, for justice.
porque
Why? Because
fue indebido lo que
it
hicieron.
was improper what they did
Aplicar
to apply
una política ordenada desde el extranjero
in a political order
para desprestigiar,
from the abroad to discredit the
que
teaching.
no tiene nada que ver
Has nothing to
con
do
mejorar la calidad de
with
enseñanza.
improving the quality of
Primero
teaching.
eso,
First, that
que fue algo impuesto
it was something
en
imposed
vez de ayudar, perjudicó.
instead of helping, it did
Por
hurt.
eso
So
hay que cancelarla.
that's why we're gonna cancel it. But also
Hay que cancelarla
we have to cancel it
para que
so that way
no haya pretextos,
there are no issues, pretexts.
que no haya excusas,
There are no excuses,
porque ahora
because
hasta los que
now even those
aplaudieron la
who
aprobación de la
approve of the so
están
bad,
muy radicales,
call it bad educational reform,
que solapan
even the radicals, even the bad
todo
press,
este agravio
all this grievancy to the teaching.
ahora que estamos
Now
nosotros,
that we are
planteando que
you
las
know
cosas sean distintas, que
posting
se
different
dignifique
things that dignifies
el noble oficio
the noble
de
office,
los maestros, de
the
las
noble
maestras.
job of the teachers.
Ahora
Now
están queriendo
Now they're wanting
oponerse
to stand against it,
y que no lleguemos a ningún
and
acuerdo.
that way we don't
Nosotros vamos
reach any agreement.
arreglar las
We ought to
cosas
fix things,
y también
and
decir
also
libertad
say
sindical
freedom of
y
association
democracia sindical.
and union
Ya hasta
democracy.
estoy
I'm already
reservando mi
booking
lugar
my place
en primera fila
in the front row
porque quiero
because
ver
I want to
las
see
elecciones
the elections.
internas. Quiero ver a los
I want to
maestros
see the
votando
teachers voting
por primera vez
for the first time
en urnas
in ballot boxes
de manera libre
in a free way
y en secreto,
and secretly,
sin acarreos,
with no carries,
sin amenazas,
without threats, without
con
bringing people,
democracia.
with democracy.
Porque
Why?
hay quienes dicen vamos
Because
a participar, adelante.
there are those who say, let's participate,
Nada
let's
más
go
que
ahead. But
ya no hay
nothing,
sindicatos
there is no
predilectos
longer
del
government
gobierno,
favorites unions.
ni partidos predilectos, ni grupos de
Not even
intereses privados.
parties nor groups,
predilectos.
so,
Van a ser los trabajadores
this time is going to be the
de la
workers
educación.
of
Y
education,
estoy seguro que los
and I'm
maestros
sure that the teachers,
no van a permitir
they will not allow
ninguna manipulación.
any manipulation.
Van a dar los maestros
They're
de
going to
México
give the teachers of
una
Mexico
clase, una lección de
a
civismo
class of civic lesson
cuando
when
corresponda
correspond
a sus dirigentes.
to elect their leaders.
Buenos días, presidente. Alberto Rodríguez de CDP Noticias. Sobre este tema de la protección expresidentes, hay una versión que circuló este fin de semana sobre que Enrique Peña Nieto tiene a su cargo a 20 elementos.
About this subject of military personnel to presidents, is Enrique Peña Nieto has 20 bodyguards with him.
Usted anunció que va a haber una gran campaña para alejar a los jóvenes de las drogas. Le quiero preguntar si esto va a venir acompañado
Also, there's
con medidas para legalizar.
you were talking last week about taking young people away from drugs.
Entre la población. Gracias.
Sí. Miren, la
Okay, listen, guys.
protección solo es para
The protection is only for the case
los expresidentes
of the former presidents Calderón and Vicente
no ha
Fox.
solicitado
Enrique Peña Nieto has not been asking,
Peña ni ningún otro expresidente.
and neither any other president, about the campaign for young people. Of course,
Va a ser una campaña
it's going to be a campaign,
muy importante
a very important
en
campaign
medios.
in media.
Vamos a ocupar
We're going to occupy the times.
oficiales, incluso
We're going to occupy the official
se
times,
van a
even
adquirir tiempos.
we're going to acquire times in radio, television, spaces in newspapers, and we're also going to call
Que de manera
who
voluntaria
voluntarily
nos ayuden los medios.
assist us
Cuando se
in
trata de
the
esas
media.
campañas,
As
siempre
always,
los
when
medios
it
de
comes
información ayudan.
to this campaign, always information,
Y,
the media help.
Va a ser por periódico,
It
por
will be
radio,
by newspaper, by radio, television,
las benditas
the
redes
blessed
sociales.
social networks,
Una campaña,
a campaign
les diría, como nunca
like never before
se ha visto.
it has ever
Dirigida a
been
todos.
seen,
Pero,
aimed to young people, for the young people.
aun cuando sea
But even though,
como será una campaña
like
creativa
it will be a creative campaign
que va a llegar profundo,
that is gonna go deep,
no sería suficiente.
it will not be
Si no
enough
damos opciones,
if we don't give options to young people.
alternativas.
Alternatives,
No tomes este
options.
camino porque
Don't take this road because
te conduce
it's gonna take you
al sufrimiento,
to suffering,
porque te destruye.
because it's gonna destroy
Pero
you.
hay este otro camino.
But there is this other way, or several other roads
Abrir esas
to open those options, those alternatives, those new ways for young people is also fundamental. I would say the most important thing is to say you can be happy with going to school without having to suffer because you will not be marginal. You will not be excluded. You're going to have study opportunity. So then the executive branch is now going to promote measures to legalize some drugs. That is also part of what we have to attend to not to rule out that possibility. This is only a media campaign of propaganda or commercials. It was now prior to which is now called advertising. With the changes that there has been before what it was known as advertising, it was a good propaganda, but not only that. Is to address the problems in the background and why young people they choose for drugs. Why? And why they don't have some other options? Why they don't know some other open doors? And to find out what are those options and provide opportunities for young people to take the good road, the good way. Then we are analyzing that a lot in the preventative. Parents they're asking for that we attend this young people is a concern, and if there is an addiction, see what kind of treatment it has to be given from medical attention to recover of health rehabilitation, and that's where we have to value that legalization or not on what is the best for some kind of drugs. What worries us a lot, okay, all drugs are harmful, but there nowadays are drugs very harmful, destructive drugs, and unfortunately the consumption of this type of drugs are going up. So we have to present something very well done, and we are working on the diagnosis, and with this campaign truly to support the young people, to take care of the young people, never again give the back to young people.
Buenos días.
Good morning,
President.
President.
Reportero de Petróleo y Energía y Líderes Mexicanos. Mientras se ofrece seguridad a dos expresidentes, las cifras del Sistema Nacional de Seguridad señalan que hay una subestimación de un 20%, por lo que el primer trimestre será el más violento que se tenga registro. ¿Se puede usted comprometer a un día a la semana podernos entregar un reporte?
Can you commit to one day of the security that keeps the whole nation?
La inseguridad fue uno de los
Because insecurity, it was one of the main complaints that you received on the part of the Mexicans in your political campaign. Of course, we are reporting daily, and we will continue doing it. And indeed, it is a pending issue, but we are moving forward. The decrease of crimes, we're going to
obteniendo
we're going to getting
nos va a
results.
llevar más tiempo
It's gonna take us more time
el que podamos
that
bajar
we can download
de manera considerable la incidencia
considerably the incidents
porque no había
because
una estrategia
there was no
para la
strategy
seguridad pública.
for the public safety.
No existía,
It didn't exist.
ni siquiera, ya se los he comentado,
Even I already talked to you guys.
tenían
They have
la información
information
de los homicidios
of the homicides
que se cometían
that they were
diariamente.
committed daily.
Se iniciaban las carpetas de investigación
They started
para tener
to research holders for the homicides to have the data
en 20 días.
in 20 days.
Nosotros estamos
We
teniendo
are having
información
daily information,
que es la que nos sirve para ir
which is what
tomando
help us to
decisiones.
take decisions.
Ayer hablaba yo
Yesterday,
en Acapulco
I spoke in Acapulco
de que
that
nos ayuda
that it helped us
el trabajo coordinado.
to coordinate the work.
Antes, la Secretaría de Marina,
Before the Secretary of the Navy did what they needed, the Army also, the federal police, the state police, and the municipal police.
hay unidad,
Now there's unity.
hay organización,
There is an organization.
coordinación.
There is a coordination.
Antes no
Before,
había el seguimiento que hay ahora.
there were no tracking on what was happening.
Todos los días,
Now it's every
de
day,
lunes a viernes,
from Monday to Friday.
el tema es
The subject is security.
desde las 6 de la mañana
From 6 o'clock in the morning
eh,
and
en el orden del día
in the agenda
de seguridad,
of the meeting of safety, the first thing is
homicidios,
homicides,
robos
robberies
cometidos
committed
en las últimas
in the last
24
24 hours.
en qué lugares,
In what places, what cities, what states,
cuál es el comportamiento
what is the behavior in relation
a
to
los días anteriores,
the days before.
en fin,
Finally,
todos los días y ahí
every
tomamos
day,
decisiones.
and there we take decisions.
Entonces, sí,
So you
sí,
can
un
commit
día
to tell
ya lo
us
hemos hecho,
about one day. Yes, of
pero
course. We have already
el
done it.
viernes
But in a day,
informamos,
we're going to inform you
de todo el
of the
trimestre,
entire quarter.
para que tengan
So they have,
información
so that way you guys have information of what is really happening
en esta materia.
in this matter. And I think we're going to be able to guarantee peace and tranquility
A pesar
to despite to
Presidente, mi segunda pregunta.
What happens?
¿Restaurará usted el
Second
desfile
question.
conmemorativo del día 1 de mayo por motivo del trabajo y usted estaría al frente del balcón presidencial en este magno evento?
vamos a verlo. Esto tiene que ver más
it has to do
con
more
la organización de los trabajadores.
with the organization of the
Este
workers.
es un
This
día
is a day that comes up,
luego de
and later
una represión a
and
los
later about repression to the
que
workers,
son los propios trabajadores
and they're the workers themselves who
inician, esta
start this protest.
y se
And now
establece el día primero
we've seen it
para
the first day
pedir justicia laboral.
for asking for labor justice. It's a matter
De los trabajadores,
of the workers,
que los trabajadores
that the workers
se manifiesten.
manifest themselves demanding their rights.
Nosotros lo que estamos pensando
What we think is, what we were thinking
afirmar mucho
is
fechas
to reaffirm dates
que tienen que ver
that have to do
con
with
las tres transformaciones
the three transformations
en la historia de nuestro país.
in the history of our country. But for example,
La independencia.
the independence.
Esa es una fecha que
It's a date that
tenemos
we have to
que conmemorar.
commemorate
Y ver
and watch or
qué
see
características tendría
what characteristics will have
el grito
the scream of the
y
day
el
15
16, el desfile.
and the 16 day parade in September. Under what
Condiciones, qué
conditions,
características,
what circumstances,
qué sentido
what sense
se le daría.
it will be
Pero sí
given,
vamos
but
a conmemorar esa
we're
fecha.
going to commemorate the date.
El 15,
The
por la
15th
noche,
at night
por nuestra
for our
independencia,
independence,
y
and
al día siguiente,
on the next day in September, of course,
el día 16.
on the 16th,
Y desde luego el 20 de noviembre,
and of course on November 20,
que lo desaparecieron.
that they disappear.
Se convirtió en puente.
It became a bridge.
No querían nada ya con la revolución.
They didn't want anything with the revolution, so we're going to attend
Atender esa fecha.
that date.
Nos importa mucho
We care a lot,
el 20 de noviembre.
that November 20.
A propósito, vamos el miércoles
But the way we're going on Wednesday to Morelos,
vamos a Cuernavaca,
we're going to Cuernavaca to make an act because
el centenario del asesinato.
it is the centennial of the murder of Emiliano Zapata,
Y vamos a estar
and we will be
en
there.
una reunión,
It's a meeting,
un encuentro,
a tribute
un homenaje donde participa
meeting where the entire government is going to be there of the Republic.
Y este año
That day and this year,
decidió que fuese
it was decided
el año
that was a
de
year of Emiliano Zapata Salazar. Then
sí, la historia la
the
vamos a
story goes
recordando
to be always remembering,
siempre. Ahora que
now, always.
se suscitó la polémica,
Now, raised the controversy.
ya saben cuál,
You guys already know which one.
fue muy importante eso.
It was a very important. That it was a very important. That
Se ventiló, se recordó,
That-
se puso
that we
sobre la mesa.
remember it and we put it on the table, the topic.
Y les hablaba yo de que me gustó mucho
I was talking to you guys that I like it a lot.
el texto, la declaración
The
de
text, the
Matos,
declaration of
el
Matos
arqueólogo,
from the archaeologist,
uno de los mejores
one of the
arqueólogos.
best
No,
archaeologists.
lo digo porque sé expresarlo
Not
así,
because he expressed it
cargado
like that, because, well, he was in charge of the work of,
de, sí,
yes,
descubrimiento,
the discovery,
descubrimiento
rediscovery
del Templo Mayor,
of the Great Temple
ya estaba.
that was already discovered, but
Él se hizo cargo, ¿no?,
he take care
de hacer estos trabajos tan
to do
importantes
these
de
important jobs
arqueología,
of
de
archaeology
la historia de México.
and the history of Mexico.
Y hace como una
And about a
semana
week ago,
leí también un
I also read an
que me
article
gustó mucho
that I
sobre
like it a lot, and I highly recommend it to you guys,
Barajao,
from Barajao,
el maestro Luis Barajao,
the master Luis Barajao,
sobre el tema
about the topic
de la conquista
the conquest
y de el por qué
and why
ofrecer disculpas y
to
pedir
offer
perdón.
apologies
Y estoy
and give
esperando
apologies, and I'm
el
waiting
momento
for the moment because I'm going to give you guys the cards, the letters, because that has to be clarified.
hubo ahí una filtración
There is a filtration and
indebida,
you shouldn't be happening,
no adecuada, no correcta.
not adequate, not
No
correct.
solo
Not only
es el periódico, sino de los que filtraron
is the newspaper, but also for those who leak
el documento.
the document.
Entonces, eso
So
me permite
that's gonna let me
que
to
voy a conocer en su momento
to make known
el
within
texto
time
completo
the full text, the full
de
letter
la carta que envié
of the letter
al rey de España.
that I sent to the King of Spain.
Vamos a ver.
Let's go over here.
Gracias, presidente. Buenos
Thank you,
días.
President. Good morning.
Blancas,
Daniel
de
Blancas
Crónica.
from Crónica.
Usted se ha referido
You have referred
fondo minero
at the mining fund in the last days.
estuvimos haciendo una
We were
revisión
doing a review
de lo que recibieron
on what
los
the states
estados, los
receive,
municipios y las obras que
municipalities,
reportaron.
and the works
Hay al
that
menos
they reported. There is at least
una diferencia de
thousand
1.500
difference,
millones de pesos
500 million
entre
pesos
lo que se les reportó a
between
la
what was
SEDATU de
informed
obras
of work
y lo que se les dio a los
and what
estados.
it was given to the states.
Usted ha bosquejado
You
que
have
este dinero se utilizará
telling us that this money
en
will be
algunos
used
programas
in
sociales,
some
en
social
específico
programs in
las tandas.
specific,
Sin
the
embargo,
batches.
la
However,
ley
the federal
federal
law
de derechos
of
obliga
rights
a que este fondo
forces these
se
funds to be
destine a
used
obras
for
físicas,
physical
a
works,
obras que tengan que ver
to
con el
works
medio
that have to
ambiente,
do with
con
environment,
drenaje,
of drainage
servicios. ¿Qué hará
services.
su gobierno para
What
subsanar
is your government is going to do
plan de dedicar este dinero a las obras
to
sociales
dedicate
cuando
this
la ley
money to
mandata
social work
que debe
when the
dedicarse a
law
obras?
mandates that
Bueno,
should
es
be
una
dedicated to works?
interpretación
Good.
que se
It's an
tiene.
interpretation
Yo
that
sostengo
you have.
que
I hold
sí es posible
that it's possible
que el dinero
that the money
de los derechos
of the rights
que se cobran por
that
la
are
extracción
charged for the extraction
del mineral
of mineral
se regresen
come back
con créditos,
with credits,
sin intereses,
no interest
a la gente
to the people,
que se vaya formando
and
fondo
to be forming
permanente para
a
mejorar la
fund
actividad
to improve
económica y
economic
sobre todo
activity and
que se
overall
personalice el apoyo
to
que le
personalize the
den,
support
a
that
los que
to
viven
arrive to
en las
those
zonas
who
mineras.
live in mining
Eso es lo que
areas,
yo
and
planteo.
that's what I propose. He wants to give the money to the people.
Porque
Why?
el entregarlo como se hacía
Delivery it was done
no es
before.
garantía
It's not a guarantee
de que se beneficie la gente.
that the people will have benefit.
Se queda
It stays, the money stays, the
en el
money
camino.
in the road, in between
Esto ha
hands.
llevado a una controversia.
This has led to a controversy.
El gobierno de Chihuahua,
The Chihuahua government
municipales
and municipal governments,
presentaron una controversia
they file a
en
controversy
contra de
against the decision
la decisión que tomamos
that I make
de entregar
to deliver
los
the
créditos
credit
de manera directa.
in a way direct to the people.
Va a resolver el Poder Judicial.
Will solve the judiciary.
Estamos esperando
We are waiting on the
sobre esa
decision.
decisión. Entonces,
So
va a ser el
it's going to be
Poder Judicial el que
judicial power that resolves
sobre este asunto.
on this matter.
Presidente, la ley es muy clara.
But the law, President, the law is very clear that the federal law of rights says that these funds should be used in public works,
No en programas sociales.
not in a social programs. Talk about work programs and also talks about
En la legislación
programs in legislation. And is
en la ley
this year
del presupuesto de este año
in this year's budget
es
law,
un asunto de
it's a matter of
interpretación
interpretation
de cómo entregar los
of how
fondos.
deliver the funds.
Nosotros queremos hacer esto
We want to do
también
this
por lo
also
mismo,
for the same
porque
because
queremos
we
que le
want
llegue el apoyo a la gente,
the money goes to the people.
que
We feel that
no les llegue el apoyo.
the support does not reach them.
Es más,
It's,
ya lo dije aquí,
I can tell you guys, and I already say it, and I repeat
la
it.
gente ni siquiera
People,
está enterada
they not even were aware, they didn't know
fondos
that these funds existed. I mean,
a los pueblos mineros,
at the mining towns,
porque
because
Hacienda cobraba,
Hacienda charged the right,
se entregaba a los
and
estados
the states,
y a los gobiernos
they were
municipales,
giving the money
y
and
no llegaba
to the municipal
al
governments
beneficiario.
and not reach the beneficiaries.
Me dice la gente lo que
I repeat
dicen
here what people tells me,
mis asesores,
what my advisors tell me,
que son millones.
that are millions.
El pueblo tiene un instinto
The
certero.
town has an accurate instinct.
Se molestan mucho
The intellectuals are very upset.
intelectuales, conservadores.
The conservatives,
Cuando hablo de que el pueblo es
when I
sabio,
talk about the wise, that the people is wise, but it's true.
me dicen, no
Hey,
nos
tell me.
mande el dinero
Not to send us the money through the government
o a través de intermediarios.
or through intermediaries.
Entregue lo que nos corresponde,
Deliver what you're gonna give us to us directly, to
que
us,
se lo roban,
because they steal it.
porque
Because
hay moche,
there's a lot of
paquete de ojo.
picket of eyes. They take our money.
Está lleno de testimonios.
It's fully loaded of
El
testimonials,
manejo del presupuesto
the
en
management
ese sentido,
of the budget in this
de
sense,
caminos que cobraban y no construían.
and the roads that they were charged and
Dos
they did not
veces
exist.
informaban de que estaban
Once or
terminados
twice they
y no
reported
habían
that
hecho
they were
nada.
finished and they never
Y
had
obras
done anything.
inconclusas
And unfinished works
y de transferencia de recursos
and transfer of
que iban
resources
para
that went
poblados con
to towns with
daños por
the
la
damages
explotación minera
from mining
y se
exploding,
utilizaban los fondos
and they use these funds
para otra cosa.
for other things.
Bueno, se
Okay,
usaba como caja chica
it was used as a small
el
box,
dinero de las medicinas.
the money from the medicine, the medicine money.
Entonces, todo eso
So
se
then
acabó.
all this is over.
No sería mejor, presidente, perdón, no sería mejor que fuera acompañada su propuesta de una reforma legislativa.
It would not be better to accompany this proposal for a reform?
¿O puede destinarse a programas
Es que está
sociales?
establecido en la ley.
It's because it's been established in the top. That's what I maintain. That
Yo
is
revisé la ley
that is
y
a
no
law.
hay ningún-
Well, I
ningún
checked the law,
momento-
and there is none in any moment some guidelines that specify that it can be in programs social, and there it is. This is a legal basis,
Existe, pero
and
es una controversia.
there is a controversy.
Vamos a esperar a que resuelva el Poder
So
Judicial.
then
Si no
we're
se
gonna
puede,
wait
el
for
Poder
it
Judicial
to solve the usury.
que no se pueden utilizar así los
If
fondos,
they determine that it cannot use well the funds are making the way, that
el Poder
then we're
Judicial.
gonna do it at the
O puede ser quizás obra
command
privada,
that
pero
the
coordinada
power
por el
commands.
gobierno federal, ¿no?
Ah, sí, se buscaría la manera. Pero
Yes.
pienso que la mejor forma
But I think
es
that the best way
apoyar de
is to
manera
support
directa
in a direct
a la gente y crear
to the
este
people
fondo
and create this fund
para impulsar la economía.
to boost the
desde
economy from below.
Fíjense
Just
a lo que
notice
se llegó.
what happens.
El gobierno
The government
prácticamente no puede ejecutar
practically cannot
obras.
execute
Todo el gobierno
works from all the government
de las dependencias
of
federales,
federal agencies.
solo la Secretaría
Only the Secretary of Communications and Transportation
puede ejecutar
can
obras,
execute
y
work,
no
and not
precisamente
precisely
de manera directa.
from a direct way.
Ya no hay
There are no
obras por
work
administración. Eso
to
es
the
cancelado.
administration. It's been canceled.
Todo tiene que ser por contrato.
Everything has to be by a contract.
Pero solo esa secretaría,
But only that secretariat,
porque la
Because
desarrollo urbano
the urban development cannot,
ni siquiera
not even
licitar. Es una secretaría
tender. It's a secretary
para la elaboración de proyectos.
for the preparation of projects.
El gobierno
The government
no ejecutaba,
did not execute.
era una entidad,
It was an entity,
en el mejor de los casos,
in the best case, dedicated
a la entrega
the
de
delivery
contratos.
of contracts.
Una oficina
An office
para la entrega de
for the
contratos.
delivery
En
of
todo.
contracts and all and everything.
Estamos ahora ajustando
We're now adjusting
el marco legal
this framework, the legal framework, to be
para
able
hacer las obras
to do the work
con las dependencias federales.
with the federal agencies.
En el caso de
In the case of the Urban Development Secretary,
intervenciones que se
there is
van a hacer
intervention that are going to be done in border cities,
en las ciudades
in cities,
turísticas, se van a
in
mejorar
tourist
las
cities.
colonias
The
populares
popular colonies will be improved
con
with drainage, with water, with
con
pavement,
pavimento, alumbrado público.
and public
En el
lining.
caso de las
In the
ciudades
case of
turísticas,
tourist cities,
para aminorar los contrastes
to
de que hay
be
hoteles
less
de gran turismo y
contrast that there are big hotels,
hay
and in the
colonias
same city
indígenas
there are
que
marginalized colonies
hasta de lo más indispensable.
that lack even the most
Entonces,
indispensable. Then let's serve the popular colonies.
resulta
It happens
que ya
that
cada intervención tenemos
they
un presupuesto
already for rich interpretation, we have authorized 500 million pesos. For example, for the renaissance in Acapulco, we have 500 million. The urban development secretary with the UNAM, with the Polytechnic, did the projects. But we're talking about the project, executive project, and the. But to do the work, the development secretary can no longer do it. Well, they cannot even contract, cannot tender. It's not allowed to tender. Then they have to do two things. One, transfer the funds to the communication secretary for that the secretariat convene to do the works or ask to do the works. If not, the development secretary urban cannot. Or deliver the funds to governments, to the state or municipal governments. Then here comes the matter again. What is done? With the communication secretary and transportations, or funds are delivered to the states, to the municipalities. How to guarantee that the work are really done? Then, in that we are. Then, what the ideal is that the secretary that does the executive project can take over the execution. But it's good what you say. It's a subject that is about to be resolved or to be fixed. It will be convenient that Jesus give you what is our argument, that we're going to have the option to talk to each other. Yeah, with those who are defending our point of view in the legal matter, that is the legal counseling, it's self-counseling, legal okay. And the other question has to do with the sale of medicine. You know, that has more than 35% of drugs in the East or IMSS. That company specializes in drugs, and the owner is Francisco Perez Fayad, from a very family powerful in the pharmaceutical industry. Perez Fayad, however, will review the profile of this entrepreneur who owns this company, who the monopolizes the sale of medicine, and we find out, we do not corroborate that he was during the transitional government to create the guidelines on which it was going to be based, the health secretary for this new government. The concrete question is, because why this entrepreneur who has the one monopoly the sale of medicines was the organized by the coordinator of the transition from our policies on your government health influences of this entrepreneur in the policy? No, no influence. It could have been, I mean, he can go, he went through like a monster, but there is, it doesn't exist, that influx him. So is that for the new tenders? I announce straight to the areas that are competent in charge of this matter, so that this company and two more, three companies that sold last year more than 60% of all medicines and healing materials to the government, that do not go under the law to be involved in new tenders until it is very
no hubo
until we
influyentismo
will clarify if there
y
was not
corrupción
influence and corruption
en la venta de
in the
medicamentos
sale
el
of
año pasado.
medications last year.
Esto está por escrito.
This is writing. Today,
Ahora mismo
right now,
les voy a entregar el documento
I'm going to give you the document
que
that
di a conocer
I
hace
make
como un
known
mes
about a month
al
ago
interior del gobierno.
to the interior of the
Pero
government.
bueno,
But oh
tampoco
well,
puedo
I cannot either
acusar a nadie sin
accuse
tener pruebas.
anyone without having
Solo
proof.
es una medida preventiva,
It's only a preventive measure
porque además
because in addition,
nosotros tenemos que garantizar la
we have to
Constitución
guarantee the Constitution,
y
and
en el artículo 28
in the
de la
Article
Constitución
28
se
of the
establece
Constitution
que no deben de haber
established
monopolios.
that there must
Una
not be
empresa que
monopolies.
vende
A company that
más
sells
del
more than
30%
30%
de
of
todos los
all the
medicamentos,
medicines,
pues sí actúa
so
o sí puede existir
it is a
una
monopoly.
práctica monopólica
Yeah, it is a monopolistic practice
contraria a la Constitución,
to contrary to the
que es la
Constitution.
ley de leyes.
That is the law of laws. That is the supreme law.
Entonces,
So
ese memorándum
that memorandum
se te va a entregar.
is going to be delivered.
Y felicidades por la
And
investigación.
congratulations for the research.
Mande.
¿Quién investiga estas empresas?
Who investigate these
estas
companies
empresas?
and who researches these
Se
companies?
está haciendo la investigación a través
And the research is being done through
lo que
what
corresponde
corresponds or has to do
la administración pública, la
to the
oficina
public administration,
de la función pública
to the office of the public function,
y también
and also
la dirección, la
the
oficina
address
de
of
inteligencia
intelligent
financiera.
office, financial intelligence office. Yes,
Tienen la investigación.
they have the investigation.
Pero
But
lo de
about the
esta empresa,
this company
planteas,
that you just come up with
se está actuando
is
de
acting
manera preventiva.
in a preventive way. When I send,
Cuando redacté
when I write
el memorándum, estaba yo
the
pensando
wise memorandum, I was thinking
vienen las nuevas licitaciones.
that there's new tenders are coming. Imagine yourself
Si se está haciendo la denuncia
if the complaint is being made
de que
that there is a
hay una concentración
concentration
que puede ser
that can be
ilegal o
illegal
indebida
or undue,
y que se
and
vuelva.
that it becomes to the same.
Entonces tenemos que andar muy pendientes
So we have to walk very careful,
por las inercias.
very dependent for the inertias,
Todavía no acaba
and
de
still
ser lo nuevo
does not
y no termina de
of
morir lo
being
viejo.
born the new, and the old does not
Es un
end yet.
proceso.
It's a transition
Por
process.
eso les agradezco
That's why
infinitamente
I appreciate
a
infinitely
todos los que ayudan
to all who help
en señalar estas cosas.
in pointing out these issues
Porque
or these things,
es
because
muy grande
the
el
government is very big.
ahora estoy utilizando como
Now
símbolo
I'm using
que es un elefante reumático
as a similar
y ya le estoy agregando.
now a rheumatic elephant. Now I'm already adding a crafty.
Todos
Then
tenemos que
we
empujar
have to push
y quitarle la
and take away the
reuma
rheumatism
al elefante
to the elephant
y lo mañoso, todos,
and the crafty,
para
all of us,
limpiar al país de
for
corrupción.
to clean the country of corruption of these practices. And there we go. We all doing well, and it is progressing. And there are those who do not understand. There are other things also.
Que hay
This one, and
intentos de bloqueo
there are blocking
de que
attempts
no
that
vamos a tener
we're not
mercancías
going to have
o
merchandise,
no vamos a tener abasto
or we will not have certain supplies
si nos ponemos muy estrictos.
if we get very strict. If it's necessary,
Se abren las fronteras
borders are opened
y se compra
And
en el mundo
we buy in the world
lo que se requiere.
what is required.
Pero no es posible
But it's not possible
continuar con la corrupción.
to continue with the
Se
corruption.
va a seguir con la
It's no longer going to continue with the corruption.
Presidente,
President Roberto Cruz from Impacto newspaper and TV. Coming back to the topic of the education reform, I believe that the Congress, Esteban Moctezuma, has it more difficult. Last Friday, it concludes that the third private party between the SEP and without an agreement. It extended approximately 3 weeks. Now, it appears since yesterday that T-shirt Gordillo is another force more as to this reform issue, education, and how conciliate the government federal through the SEP. And maybe you can give us an opinion on how the Congress being now are two different forces, because regardless of what she said, the teacher, well then the educational reform, the new one, will have to have participation of these two forces. Yes, but we're gonna reach an agreement. It's a matter of talk. And the commitment that we have is cancel the so-called educational reform. Cancel for me, it is a synonymous with the abrogate, to abolish, to remove. Even when there are now two forces, two different forces without a war, they are each demanding their share, but we headed to the teachers. There might be interests of the directions and also legitimate, but I want to look good. I want to fulfill the national teaching. I'm going to keep my word. Then that's what that's what is going to happen. If it happens that we talk and come up with an agreement, if not, then I will propose that cancellation. I'm going to take good care how it was before the educational policy, education of the reform, and the one they carry out, the wrong called educational reform, and I'm to leave things like they were. That is to say, how the amparos work. Nothing more than retroactive. So it stays as is. So I don't know if that way there will be protests. I think not. There's a topic that I advance. If we're not going to agree in payroll management, because we don't want that there is corruption. We don't want there are aviators, because we're going towards the federalization of the education. Now in Michoacan, I bring it over, and now it's a common sense of practical judgment here in the city of Mexico. The education is federalized and there is no problem. There are no problems in the schools. Everybody's basically happy, parents, teachers. There is still some differences, even in our families. We love each other, but there is no greater problems, there is no big problems. And there are no problems either in the labor. Instead, in the state, for a series of circumstances, not only because of bad handling
del presupuesto.
of the budget.
Pero también porque
Also because
está creciendo la
the
demanda,
demand is being growing,
los estados no tienen
and the states,
los recursos
they don't have the
suficientes,
resource
no se les han
enough,
transferido los recursos
or they
suficientes
have been
al gobierno.
transferred enough resources to
La
all,
utilización de recursos
or for the use of
que se
resources
destinan a la
that are
educación,
stretched to
otros
education
recursos,
to others
una serie
purposes,
de elementos
and a
que
series of
para poner
elements.
orden,
Good.
lo que
To
se
bring
requiere
order, what is required
es tener
is to have
una nómina
a
confiable,
reliable payroll,
saber en dónde están los
to
maestros,
know what are the teachers,
cuál es su escuela,
what is the school grade,
si existen.
if they exist.
Entonces, ese tema
Then that topic,
sí vamos
we're going
a cuidar
to take care
que
that
esté en buenas manos.
in good hands, to be in good hands.
Lo otro,
The other,
miren por ejemplo de la
look for example, the training
para
that they use to
afectar a los maestros.
to affect teachers.
Existen las normales.
There are normal ones.
Si fortalecemos las normales,
With that, if we is training the normals, we're going to have good teachers.
pero se dedicaron a
But
hacer
they were dedicated
normales,
to close
a desprestigiar
normales,
las
to
normales.
discredit the normal. In other
¿Cómo
words,
era antes?
how it was before.
Pues los maestros salían de las normales
Well, the teachers that were leaving
bien preparados
the
y podrían salir mejor preparados.
as
Con
well
las
prepared,
normales.
considered better prepared with the normal.
Se va a abrir la de Messi y otras normales.
Yeah, we're gonna open one and another normal,
Sin
and
embargo, en el esquema neoliberal, en la política
and
neoliberal,
in
la
the
concepción neoliberal,
neoliberal scheme,
era,
in the
no se
politic,
requieren las normales,
we don't
cualquier
require
profesor
normales. Any professional
puede dar clases.
can give lessons. Normal is like a university for teachers.
Hay un tema ahí en
There
la
is
reforma,
a theme or topic there in the reform educational about
sobre
this,
contratación libre.
about free hiring.
Eso no.
That does not.
Yo creo que podemos
I
llegar
think
a un
we have
acuerdo
reached an agreement
de que los maestros
that the
que
teachers
se contraten
that is contracted
salgan de las normales.
come out from normal or from
Eso yo
teachers
estoy de
for universities for teachers, and that I agree
Se le dé
to be given
prioridad
priority
a las normales.
to the university for teachers.
Porque
There we go. Why?
han hecho tanto daño
They have done so much damage in this neoliberal period to the public education
que
that
ya no hay
there is no
maestros,
teachers,
o mejor dicho,
or
no hay
better say it in some other way, there's no students
para
for
tener la profesión
to
de
have
maestro.
the profession of teachers.
Ha bajado
It went
la
down.
inscripción,
The
se ha
registration
desprestigiado
is
tanto
being
maestros,
discredited
han hecho
so
daño.
much. Yeah, really, they are responsible. They've been doing so much damage. These corrupt technocrats. Before our teachers,
Eran respetados,
there were
queridos,
respect for us.
era un apostolado,
It was an apostolate.
el maestro.
The teacher,
¿Cómo no vamos a recordar a nuestras maestras,
like
nuestros
we will,
maestros,
how we not gonna remember our old teachers?
a desprestigiar al magisterio?
These guys that were dedicated to discredit the teachers.
No hay
And now teaching,
muchos estudiantes.
there's not that many students who wants to be teachers.
Ha bajado la
The registration has gone down. The demand has gone down. This is something similar to what happened with engineering.
a pesar de que
Even though
metieron
they got the neoliberalism
dejaron de
and they stopped
construir infraestructura,
building
las
infrastructure,
grandes obras que se hicieron
the great works that they would make,
en el pasado,
roads in the past,
carreteras, hospitales,
railways, hospitals,
ferrocarriles, todo eso
all that
se abandonó.
that was abandoned.
Eh, las ingenierías, sobre todo la ingeniería civil.
Engineering, above all, engineering civilians went down.
Recuerdo cuando
I remember when we studied,
tenía mucha demanda,
it has lots of demand,
ya no
and no longer has the same demand. Everybody wanted to be now
la ingeniería petrolera,
the civil engineering or the oil engineering.
son otras carreras. ¿Por
They
qué?
are other
Porque
races
se le dio
because
preferencia
they were giving preference
a otras cosas.
to other
Entonces,
things.
sí
Then
vamos a
if
llegar a
we're
un
going
acuerdo
to
con
get
la
an
industria.
agreement with the
Es
teachers,
cosa de tener
it's a matter
paciencia
of to
y
have
dialogar
patience
mucho.
and talk to them a lot.
Presidente,
President,
en otro tema,
in
ayer
another topic,
todavía hablaba
yesterday they still
de
talk
turismo
about tourism
y
and
seguridad.
security.
Que turismo es
The
seguridad
tourism
o
is a security or backwards
viceversa.
or vice versa.
Hablar de Guanajuato
To
es
speak
hablar
about
de
Guanajuato
turismo.
is talk about tourism,
Para
and to
saber
know
si a
if
nivel
at
nacional la
national level
violencia
the violence is
está
low or
baja o
high
elevada, no se requieren
is
muchos
not
parámetros.
require many
La
parameters.
referencia, por
Go to the
ejemplo, con
reference, for
Felipe
example, with
Calderón fue
Felipe Calderon
Chihuahua,
was Chihuahua,
Nuevo León,
Nuevo León.
con Peña fue
With
Veracruz,
Peña was
fue
Veracruz.
Guerrero.
He was Guerrero.
Hoy Guanajuato está
Today,
sufriendo una alta
today
violencia.
Guanajuato is suffering a high balance.
Hasta
So
Fox está nervioso.
go even Fox is nervous.
Pero
But
ayer se
yesterday
registraron
we have registered
más de 20
more
ejecuciones en
than 20
Guanajuato. Antier
executions
otras 10,
in Guanajuato,
antier, la semana pasada.
and yesterday another 10, the last
¿Cómo
week
se está
also.
comportando
How the strategy
la
is
estrategia
behaving
en Guanajuato,
in
que es el
Guanajuato,
estado más visible
which is
ahorita
the
en el
most
país?
visible state with violence nowadays. There's
plan especial para
a special
Guanajuato.
plan for
Ahí hemos
Guanajuato.
tenido problemas.
There we
En
have
efecto,
had some problems. Yes, of course.
En los últimos días,
In the last days,
como lo mencionas,
like I said,
ha habido
or like you
muchos
said,
homicidios,
it's been many homicides, lots of them.
sobre todo el sábado. Y estamos trabajando.
And we're working on that.
Hay una coordinación.
There's a coordination of the state government and the federal government, in particular with the Marine Secretary, but it took root a lot there. The problem of violence is tolerated for a long time, and yes, is doing crisis, but we are already addressing this issue. Okay. Yeah, it's correct. Your point of view is one of the states we have with more difficulty is Guanajuato, but we are already working on that. All I can tell you is all I can tell you to the people of Guanajuato is that we're not just worried, we are busy, and we are working and fixing this problem. It was a lot of inattention, the lack of attention on this entity, but we're working on it, and with the coordination with the state government, here cannot be any differences between parties. We have to join efforts together. We're doing it. I have to go, but tomorrow we'll take more time. Thank you very much. And guys, this was a very difficult translation. I recognize it, and I'm sorry for all the mistakes that I have made, but I'm getting familiar with all the words, and just be patient, and little by little I'll become better. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Yes. Thank you guys.